The galaxy had always trusted the future engine. It was the most sacred machine in known existence, a quantum mind forged from a billion interlinked computation cores orbiting the blue star of Zalrun. Its duty was simple but absolute: predict everything. Every war, every treaty, every ecological shift, every rebellion, every new species future. If a civilization was discovered, the engine calculated its threat level and fate before the first ambassador even said hello. It had never malfunctioned. Not once. Until the day the Terran exploration vessel Paradox Runner appeared in the Perseid expanse. The signal came to the engine's data lines as a soft chime, an alert for the arrival of a newly registered starfaring species. Routine. Nothing unusual. The Coalition analysts prepared for another day of comfortable determinism. The engine should have described the species with total accuracy: biology, psychology, expected aggression level, diplomatic models, economic trends for the next 1,000 years. Instead, the engine reported a single line of text: error, unclassifiable species, cannot predict future, risk level, unknown times infinite. The chamber erupted into chaos. "Run it again!" shouted High Analyst Torvekin, his frills rising with panic. "We've run it 32 times, his assistant croaked, staring at the cascading red warnings. "Sir, it refuses to compute anything. It crashes every time it reaches the neurological scan of the species." Torvekin stared at the hologram of the Terran skull. Smooth cranium, forward-facing eyes, highly flexible emotional centers, a brain with impossible combination of logic, instinct, empathy, aggression, creativity, and unpredictability. "What are they?" Torvekin whispered. The assistant swallowed. Paradox, sir." The Coalition senators did not appreciate paradoxes. They appreciated certainty. The future engine had guided civilization for 10,000 years. Without its predictions, the galaxy would collapse into chaos. The arrival of a species it couldn't calculate, a species whose future was fog, was the most terrifying event imaginable. Within 2 days, the Paradox Runner received an automated hail, followed by a blockade fleet of 17 Vralathai capture cruisers. Aboard the human vessel, Captain Mira Lopez stood in her command chamber, hands on her hips, staring at the tactical hologram with a mix of disbelief and annoyance. "Well," she muttered, "that's more ships than I was hoping for." Dr. Cole Rendell, neuroanthropologist and mission science officer, leaned back in his chair. "You think they're friendly?" The ship AI, Byron, answered first. "Based on weapon power signatures, Captain, I'd estimate their friendliness at precisely 0%. "Great," Mira said. "Just wanted to make sure we all agreed." The Paradox Runner was a long-range survey vessel, not a warship. Its weapon systems were minimal. Small rail defenses, a few plasma shunts, nothing that could take on a single Coalition cruiser, let alone 17. But Mira wasn't the type to surrender out of fear. "Open a channel," she said. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing an alien with flowing crystalline tendrils instead of hair and a face carved like stone. High Analyst Torvekin himself. "This is a galactic coalition," he began, voice cold. "You are to power down engines immediately. You will be boarded. Resistance will be met with annihilation." Dr. Rendell mouthed the word. "Annihilation?" Mira ignored him. She stepped forward. "I'm Captain Mira Lopez. We come in peace. We're explorers, not a threat." Torvekin's eyes narrowed. "Your species is beyond classification, beyond prediction. The future engine itself cannot model your actions." "That sounds like a you problem," Dr. Rendell whispered. Mira elbowed him. Torvekin continued. "For the safety of the galaxy, your crew will be detained and examined until the cause of your unpredictability is understood." Mira took a breath. She could try to run, but 17 cruisers could surround the runner in seconds. She could fight, but that would be suicide. Sometimes bravery wasn't charging forward. It was choosing the one path that didn't get everyone killed. "We will comply," she said slowly, "so long as you guarantee our crew's safety." "You have my word," Torvekin said. But Mira had enough military experience to tell when someone was lying. The line cut. Dr. Rendell looked at her. "We're seriously letting ourselves be captured?" "For now." Mira crossed her arms. But we're humans. They have no idea what that actually means. The Paradox runner was pulled into the magnetic docking ring of the lead cruiser. Hundreds of alien soldiers surrounded the airlock with stun rifles humming softly. As the humans were escorted into custody, Torvekin watched from above through a viewing glass. Little did he know, capturing the humans was the easy part. Understanding them would be the event that shook the entire galaxy. The holding chamber aboard the Vralathai cruiser was large, sterile, and disturbingly quiet. Walls of polished obsidian curved seamlessly into the floor, giving the space a hollow, echoing emptiness that made every breath sound like a thunderclap. There were no windows, no visible cameras, no vents. Only a single shimmering force barrier separating the human crew from the corridor beyond. Captain Mira Lopez stood at the barrier, palms clasped behind her back, studying the alien guards lined up outside. They looked uneasy. Good, she thought. Fear gave her an advantage. Dr. Cole Rendell paced in tight circles behind her, muttering under his breath. Captured on our first contact mission. Fantastic. Brilliant scientific diplomacy at work. Cole, Mira said without turning, you're spiraling. I'm spiraling because they want to dissect our brains. Metaphorically, Mira said. Cole stopped pacing and pointed at her. You don't know that. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. He was right. The coalition wanted answers. They want to know why the future engine crashed when it tried to simulate a human mind, and they'd do whatever it took to find out. The shimmering barrier flickered, signaling that someone on the other side was preparing to enter. Moments later, a tall alien in flowing violet robes stepped through. Its skin was translucent like frosted glass, and tattoos of glowing circuitry pulsed beneath the surface. Torvekin himself. He approached with slow, deliberate movements. Captain Mira Lopez, Dr. Cole Rendell. He nodded at each of them. You may address me as High Analyst Torvekin. Cole muttered. Titles are universal, I guess. Mira ignored him. Why are we prisoners? We've shown no hostile intent. Torvekin folded two of his 6 arms behind him in a gesture Mira guessed was formal. You are not prisoners. You are subjects of examination. Your species' cognitive signatures are incompatible with predictive modeling. Until we resolve this anomaly, you cannot be released. So we are prisoners, Mira said. Torvekin's crystalline eyes flickered. Semantics. He stepped closer and projected a hologram between them, a swirling model of a human brain. Neural patterns pulsed erratically in every direction, branching at impossible junctions, lighting up pathways that shouldn't exist. This, Torvekin said, is what your mind looks like to the engine. Cole approached the hologram, frowning. That's nonsense. Neural firing isn't that chaotic. It is when observed through time-based probability structures. Torvekin replied, your species violates logical forecast pathways. You choose suboptimal actions. You prioritize emotion over efficiency. You sacrifice yourselves for abstract ideals. You defy survival logic. You even laugh when facing danger. Cole blinked. That last one is just coping. And yet, Torvekin said, it renders all models useless. Every other species follows predictable behavioral arcs. You do not. Mira crossed her arms. So your whole galaxy is panicking because we're too spontaneous? Torvekin's expression hardened. Because unpredictability is the seed of chaos. Wars, rebellions, collapse. Our civilizations depend on reliable outcomes, and your species destabilizes the system simply by existing. The room fell silent. Finally, Cole spoke softly. You're afraid of us. Torvekin hesitated. A microsecond glitch of truth. We fear uncertainty, he corrected. And humans bring uncertainty, Mira said. Torvekin dismissed the hologram and turned away. Your examinations will begin shortly. Prepare yourselves. He moved toward the exit, but Mira stepped forward and called out, Torvekin. He paused. You can't understand humans by treating us like algorithms. Torvekin turned his head slightly. Everything can be understood through algorithms, eventually. Not us, Mira said. You can scan our brains, chart our neurons, measure our reflexes, but you'll never understand why we choose the things we choose. You're afraid of chaos because you think order is the only way to survive. Torvekin's crystalline skin flickered with faint static, a sign of agitation. Humans, Mira continued, thrive in chaos. For the first time, Torvekin looked unsettled, truly unsettled. Prepare for your examinations, he repeated. The force barrier shimmered back into place behind him. Cole let out a long exhale. We're screwed. Not yet, Mira said. Everyone has a weakness. Even people obsessed with order. As if on cue, the ceiling lights dimmed. A low harmonic hum filled the chamber, followed by a disembodied voice. Human crew of the Paradox Runner. The computerized voice announced, you will be escorted to the cognitive isolation wing. Cole froze. Isolation? That sounds bad. Mira steadied herself. Stay close. Stay calm. And remember, their entire worldview assumes behavior is predictable. So we be unpredictable? Mira smirked. Cole, we just have to be ourselves. The guards activated the barrier and motioned for them to step forward. As they were led down a long corridor of gleaming metal, Mira whispered to Cole, this is where it begins. What begins? Mira glanced at the alien guards, all watching with cold precision, teaching a galaxy what humans really are. The corridor leading to the cognitive isolation wing felt unnaturally narrow, like a throat swallowing them whole. Soft blue lights pulsed along the walls, guiding the escort of alien guards as they marched Mira, Cole, and the other 4 crew members deeper into the cruiser's interior. The air grew colder the further they went, and a faint metallic tang hung in every breath, as if the ship itself exhaled sterile anxiety. Cole whispered, why does it feel like we're walking into an MRI designed by a cult? Stay focused, Mira murmured back. The guard stopped before a set of tall segmented doors, each plate shifting open with the smoothness of liquid steel. A low vibration rumbled through the floor. The humans exchanged uneasy glances. 4 rogue analysts stood waiting inside. Their robes were inscribed with glowing symbols, mathematical sequences, fractal spirals, complex probability patterns. They regarded the humans with a mixture of academic fascination and predatory calculation. One stepped forward. I am Analyst Tyree 1, she said. Her voice shimmered like glass struck by wind. You will be processed for evaluation. Cole raised an eyebrow. Processed? That's a word you never want to hear as a living being. Silence during transit. A guard snapped. Mira stepped in front of him, calm but firm. We will cooperate, but we expect transparency. If you want to understand humans, hiding your intentions won't help you. Tyree, one studied her quietly. Transparency is inefficient. Information given prematurely alters subject behavior. That's called learning, Mira said. Learning is unpredictable. Tyree, one replied. Exactly. The alien stiffened, as if Mira had spoken profanity. The humans were separated, each directed to an individual cylindrical chamber branching off from the central room. The walls inside each chamber glowed with pale amber light, and in the middle sat a smooth, silver chair with no edges, almost grown rather than built. As Mira entered her chamber, 2 analysts followed. The door sealed behind them with a whisper. Please sit, one said. I'll stand, Mira replied. The alien's frills twitched, confused. Standing is not the protocol. It's my protocol, she said. After 3 seconds of processing, the alien nodded stiffly. We will adjust. 1 point for humanity, Mira thought. The second analyst raised a slender instrument resembling a shimmering tuning fork. When activated, it dispersed a soft hum that resonated inside Myra's skull. This is a neurofrequency calibration tool, he explained. It will not harm you. It aligns your neural field to permit precise cognition scans. Mira felt the vibration ripple through her brain. Not painful, just strange, like a warm hand brushing inside of her thoughts. She steadied her breathing. Your species exhibits excessive neurodivergence, the analyst said. Our goal is to understand the source. You're assuming there is one, Mira said. Maybe unpredictability is an error. Maybe it's natural. No, Nature does not favor chaos. Mira smiled faintly. You've never been to Earth. Meanwhile, in his own chamber, Cole was having completely different interaction. The analyst assigned to him held a hovering orb of purple light that scanned the room in spirals. We will begin with cognitive priming. Please recite the standard logical progression. Certainty leads to predictability. Predictability leads to order. Order leads to stability. Cole interrupted. What if certainty leads to stagnation? The analyst's shimmering skin flickered violently. That is not the sequence. Maybe your sequence is wrong, Cole said, shrugging. Maybe chaos sparks invention. Maybe disorder creates growth. The analyst froze for a full 5 seconds. Then the orb scanning the room began to pulsate erratically. Cole blinked. Is that supposed to happen? It is malfunctioning, the alien whispered, horror creeping into its voice. And that's my fault. Cole said. The orb shattered into motes of violet static that dissipated in the air. The alien recoiled as if slapped. Cole raised his hands. Okay, look, I didn't touch anything. You destabilize a predictive anchor, the analyst said in a tone bordering on fear. How? By talking. The analyst didn't answer. It simply backed away, tapping its wrist console with frantic urgency. Back in Myra's chamber, another analyst approached her with the same trembling uncertainty. Captain, he said, we require clarification. Why do humans question foundational axioms? Because we're not programmed, Mira said. All minds obey rules. Not ours. Another pause. A long one. Then what do you obey? The analyst asked. Mira lifted her chin. Choice. The two analysts stared at her, clearly disturbed. Your answers are inconsistent with survival logic. They're consistent with human logic, she replied. It is impossible to model. You're welcome. As if coordinated across the entire wing, alarms suddenly blared. A deep orange glow flooded the hallways outside. Analysts murmured urgently. Guards sprinted past Myra's chamber. The door slid open, and Tyree, one stood there, her composure fractured. Human captain, she said, your crew has triggered a cascading computational failure across the cognitive network. Myra's heart pounded. Is anyone hurt? No, Tyree, one said. But your behavior is fracturing our models. Nothing we predict is occurring as expected. That's because you're trying to understand us like a machine, Mira said. Tyree, one looked at her with genuine bewilderment. Then how should we understand you? Mira stepped forward. Not as calculations. Her expression hardened. As people. Alarms pulsed in a steady, disorienting rhythm, echoing through every metal beam of the cruiser. The cognitive isolation wing, usually a sanctuary of silent calculation, was now shaking under the stress of system-wide prediction collapse. Analysts rushed through corridors with fractal data slates flickering in their hands, each slate showing the same repeating warning. Model failure. Input source, human. Cascade level, critical. Tyree. One guided Mira swiftly down the corridor, her movements tight and jittery, unusual for a species bred for calm precision. We must regroup your crew, she said. The anomalies intensify when you are separated. Anomalies? Mira echoed. You mean thinking? Tyree, one twitched. Thinking is predictable. Yours is not. They reached Cole's chamber, where the door hung half open and an analyst sat slumped in a corner, overwhelmed by the rapid collapse of his cognitive tools. Cole stood awkwardly in the center, hands raised in surrender. Okay, in my defense, Cole said when he saw Mira, all I did was suggest that order might be overrated, and the room blew a gasket. Mira guessed. Yes, immediately. Tyree, one motioned them into the hall. As more humans were gathered, engineer Zuri Patel, medic Eric Boone, navigator Juan Lee, linguist Amira J., it became clear that the entire wing had descended into analytical panic. Holographic displays flickered overhead, showing the same error in every language. Unpredictable behavior cascade. Containment required. Samira whistled softly. I think we broke their brains. Mira frowned. What's happening? Tyree one. Speak plainly. The alien inhaled sharply, a gesture her species used to steady themselves. We assumed human unpredictability would be confined to emotional and social vectors. But your presence disrupts cognitive modeling architecture at the foundational level. Our tools cannot process you without destabilizing. Juan crosses arms. So we're basically psychic EMPs. Worse, Tyree once said, your cognitive signatures spread. When analysts attempt to model your responses, their neural patterns begin fluctuating as well. Their minds begin deviating from expected behavior. Zari blinked. You mean they start thinking creatively? Tyree one shuddered. If that is what you call it. Cole whispered to Mira. They're terrified of imagination. More like allergic, Mira whispered back. A tremor shook the hallway. Lights flickered. A deep alarm reverberated from somewhere near the ship's core. Tyree one stiffened. That came from the forecast array. The engine's remote node is suffering recursive prediction loops. Mira frowned. You mean the thing that controls your entire civilization? Yes. And we're connected to it. How? Tyree one pointed at them. Through you. Through trying to decode you. Myra's jaw tightened. So by studying us, you infected your own systems with our unpredictability. The alien nodded slowly. Cole muttered, so humans are essentially computer viruses with legs. Speak for yourself, Zari said. Mira stepped closer to Tyree one. If your civilization depends on the predictions, what happens if the engine keeps failing? Tyree one's crystalline face dimmed. Governments will panic. Military fleets will mobilize. Empires will assume an external hostile threat. They will prepare for war. And they'll blame us, Mira said. Tyree, one did not deny it. The hallway trembled again, harder this time. Analysts hurried past, whispering in frantic tones. Models collapsing. No stable timeline found. Engine reporting 0% predictability window. Species contamination. Samira stepped forward. Captain, we need a plan. Fast. Before Mira could respond, the light snapped off. Total darkness. For 3 seconds, no one breathed. Then the auxiliary lights blinked on, bathing the corridor in deep scarlet. A mechanical voice boomed across the intercom. Cruiser-wide protocol activated. Threat containment Gamma 7. All guards. Detain human subjects immediately. Tyree one's face went completely still. No, they cannot. But Mira understood immediately. Gamma 7 sounded like a last resort protocol. A kill order protocol. Everyone move. Mira barked. Guards appeared at the end of the corridor, weapons raised. Force rifles humming with white-hot energy. The humans didn't wait. Left, Mira shouted, sprinting toward a maintenance passage she'd noticed earlier when being escorted through the wing. Cole followed. So did the others. Zari slapped the panel beside the hatch. It's locked. Samira shoved forward. Let me... She touched the panel, and to Myra's astonishment, the alien interface glitched in the same erratic pulse seen earlier, then unlocked. The hatch slid open. What did you do? Juan asked. Samira shrugged. I don't know. Maybe their systems are too busy having an existential meltdown. Move. Mira urged. The crew scrambled inside. Tyree, one hesitated, looking back at the approaching guards. Mira grabbed her wrist. Come with us. The alien stared at her in shock. Why would you invite me? Because you're not trying to kill us, Mira said, pulling her inside. And that's enough right now. The hatch sealed behind them just as rifle blasts scorched the corridor outside. Inside the maintenance conduit, darkness swallowed them again. But Mira felt something shift, something subtle, something dangerous. For the first time since humanity's capture, the galaxy had no idea what came next. And that meant humans finally had an advantage. The maintenance conduit was narrow enough that everyone had to crouch, moving single file through the dim orange glow of emergency strips. The air smelled of heated circuitry and ion discharge, signs that the ship's systems were buckling under the strain of prediction collapse. Each distant tremor felt like the cruisers struggling to stay coherent. Mira led the way, one hand touching the curved wall for balance. Tyree, one, Where does this passage lead? The alien analyst crawled behind her, robes snagging on the rough paneling. This conduit links to the inner structural spine. From there, we can access navigation relays, power junctions, and the forecast array node. Cole peered over his shoulder. The remote node of your future engine? That big predictor thing. Yes, Tyree, one said, but it is not safe. The array is experiencing recursive failure loops. It is collapsing in on itself. Zari snorted softly. Sounds like Tuesday in human tech support. The conduit shook violently, nearly knocking them off balance. Is the ship supposed to do that? Samira asked. No. Tyree, one answered. It means the synchronization tether between the cruiser and the engine is destabilizing. The engine is trying to predict the ship's next micromaneuver and failing. So the whole thing is having a breakdown because we exist, Juan said. Basically, Cole muttered. A deeper rumble echoed ahead, like a giant machine gasping. Mira slowed. Hold up. The conduit opened into a circular chamber, its center dominated by a towering column of pulsating crystalline plates. Streams of data light flowed upward to the translucent structures, flickering violently. Zari whistled. This must be the structural spine. No. Tyree, one said shakily. This is the array's thought channel. Cole blinked. The what? It is where predictions are rendered into actionable outcomes. The engine sends compressed probability structures through this channel. The ship interprets them, ensuring all actions align with the predicted timeline. Samira frowned. So your ship doesn't really choose its own course? Correct. It follows the engine's guidance. Myra's jaw tightened. But now the guidance is corrupted. Yes. Tyree, one whispered. A series of sharp, discordant tones echoed throughout the chamber. The lights dimmed to a sickly green. Mira could feel her heartbeat thumping in her ears. Suddenly, the data column flared bright white, then crackled with arcs of unstable energy. Holographic glyphs burst from the column, warning after warning. Model void. Prediction collapse. Temporal feedback gridlock. Cole winced. That sounds really bad. It is bad, Tyree once said. We are standing in the cognitive heart of a dying machine mind. Mira scanned the walkway that wrapped around the chamber. We can't stay here. They'll track us. They already are, Juan said, nodding toward the corridor behind them. Footsteps. Armored. Fast. Mira raised a hand. Inside the chamber, move. The crew rushed down the metal walkway and ducked behind a cluster of humming consoles. Moments later, a squad of Ralathai guards burst into the chamber. One guard barked. Search every alcove. The humans are contaminating the array. Tyree one stiffened. Contaminating? Mira whispered. We're not a disease. To them, we are, Cole murmured. Two guards approached the consoles. Mira motioned silently. Wait. Samira closed her eyes, fingertips lightly brushing a panel beside her. The alien interface flickered, then glitched violently. A burst of static shot across the walkway, slamming into the approaching guards. They collapsed, convulsing as their armor systems malfunctioned. Mira stared. Samira, what did you do? I didn't do anything, she whispered. I just touched it. Their systems are crashing because they're trying to anticipate what I'll do next. Juan blinked. Your presence is destabilizing their tech. Samira nodded, stunned, apparently. Tyree one's voice trembled. Your cognitive divergence is spreading through physical interfaces. The systems cannot predict how you will interact with them and thus cannot operate safely around you. Cole whispered. We're literal walking paradox grenades. More guards shouted from across the chamber. No time left. Mira pointed to the data column's narrow service access. Inside. Now. Tyree, one recoiled. That's the engine's direct uplink. Entering it is forbidden. Forbidden? Mira said. Or unpredictable? Tyree, one hesitated. Both. Mira grabbed her arm. You're with us now. Move. They squeezed into the narrow service channel behind the data column. Dark, warm, humming with energy. Sparks snapped overhead like nervous lightning. Inside, The noise was overwhelming, a thrum of raw computation vibrating the walls. It felt alive. Zari whispered, "This thing is thinking." "No," Tyree, one corrected. "It is failing to think." Mira steadied herself. "Tyree, one, can you shut down this node?" The alien's eyes widened. "Do you understand what you are asking? This node links directly to the engine. Deactivating it could sever the cruiser from all prediction streams." "Good," Mira said. "Tyree," one stared in horror. "Good?" "Captain, without the engine's guidance, the ship will fall into chaos. The crew will panic. They may fire on each other. They'll have to start making decisions," Mira said. "Real ones, not mathematical ones. That is not how our society works. And that's the problem." Tyree, one looked down, voice breaking. "If I do this, my people will call me a traitor." Mira placed a hand on her shoulder. "And if you don't, they'll kill us, and eventually themselves." A beat of silence. Then Tyree, one slowly raised her trembling hands toward the conduit. "Very well," she whispered. "I will help you." She pressed her palms to the glowing node. The chamber lights flared. The engine screamed. And the galaxy changed forever. The Zerith flagship, VY loomed before the Terran task force like a dark god given metal and purpose. Its hull was kilometers of living alloy, pulsing with bioluminescent veins. Entire fleets had died trying to get within visual range of it. Humanity, however, had no intention of dying. Admiral Reyes stood on the command platform of the TSS Varian, eyes locked on the holographic projection of the enemy super dreadnought. "Distance?" she asked. 50,000 clicks and closing," replied Tactical Officer Mirachan. Her voice was steady, but the edge of tension cut through. Beside her, the alien defector Kovar, a former Zero strategist, watched in silence. His four eyes blinked in a slow, uneasy rhythm. "Your species should not be able to get this close," he murmured. "The VYR Shokan was designed to kill civilizations." Reyes gave him a hard smile. "Humanity specializes in doing what we shouldn't." The gravity lance. A ripple of distortion rippled through the void ahead. The Zerith superweapon fired. "The gravity lance!" Chang shouted. "Brace!" Space warped. The Varian buckled. Metal screamed like a wounded beast as the ship was yanked sideways by a force older than stars. Bulkheads shuddered. Lights dimmed. A dozen support cruisers behind them were simply folded in half, crushed like paper. "Shields at 40% and dropping," yelled engineering. Kovar staggered, claws gripping the console. "You cannot withstand another shot." "No creature can." "Good thing we're not creatures," Reyes said through gritted teeth. "Fire the phase javelins." All banks. Terran weapons. Experimental, volatile, probably illegal, launch in synchronized flashes. Beams of condensed space-time tore forward, striking the Zerith flagship's armor. For the first time, its living hull recoiled. "Direct hit," Chang shouted. "We made it feel that." The crew cheered, but only for a heartbeat, because the VYR Shokan began to turn, like a titan waking up. The human advantage. On Deck 7, Sergeant Hale sprinted through smoke-filled corridors with his strike team. Their target, the nerve hub. If they could board and sabotage the VYR Shokan, they could end the war tonight. Beside him ran Ira, the augmented medic, Rourke, a heavy weapons operator dragging a plasma repeater, and Juno, the silent scout who never missed a shot. They were humanity's best. More importantly, they were stubborn. Hale slammed his fist against the loading controls. "Drop pod bay open?" "Barely," replied Ira. "The blast doors fused, but we've got a narrow chute." "Good enough." Their pod wasn't elegant. It was basically a metal coffin with thrusters. The team climbed in. Hale hit the deploy command. The pod fired, and the universe became fire. Flak tore around them. Zerith interceptors zipped past like angry comets. Hale's helmet feed showed dozens of other pods spiraling toward the flagship, many destroyed mid-flight. "Adjust trajectory," he barked. "Trying." Juno yelled. "The gravity was dragging us." The pod hit something, screamed, spun, and slammed into a fleshy corridor of the Viwarshul Khan, cracking open like an egg, boarding the god beast. Hale coughed. Everyone alive? Define alive, Rourke groaned. The inside of the flagship wasn't metal. It was biomechanical flesh. Walls pulsed like muscle. Veins ran along the floor, oozing faint blue light. The air smelled like ozone and blood. Iris shivered. This place is alive. Kovar had warned them. The flagship wasn't built. It was grown. The moment they stepped out, the ship reacted. Organic tendrils whipped toward them. Defensive reflexes of a living organism. Cut M. Hale shouted. Rourke fired the plasma repeater, blasting tendrils apart. Juno severed others with crackling vibroblades. The path opened. Forward. Hale ordered. We're hitting the nerve hub core. We take that out. The giant dies. They ran deeper into the living labyrinth. The Zereth counterstrike. Back on the Varian. Alarms erupted again. They're charging a lance for another shot. Chong cried. Reyes, clench your jaw. If they fire again, our ships won't survive. Kovar's voice dropped to a whisper. The lance requires the entire organism to stabilize. If your soldiers destroy the nerve hub before the next discharge, the weapon will fail. And if they don't, Reyes asked, then your species is extinguished. Encouraging. The screen flickered, showing Hale's team fighting through biotunnels, cutting down Zereth Guardians, forcing their way toward the core. Reyes whispered, hold. Hale hold. The nerve hub. Hale and his squad reached a chamber the size of a stadium. At the center pulsed a massive organ, half brain, half reactor, beating slowly like the heart of a cosmic monster. Dozens of Zereth soldiers awaited them. Their commander hissed, animals, you dare touch the heart of ascension. Hale raised his rifle. We're humans. Touching things we shouldn't is kind of our specialty. The battle was chaos. Plasma fire lit the chamber in hellish blues. Rourke's repeater burned holes through armored aliens. Juno danced across the battlefield, blades flashing. Ira darted between them, healing, boosting, fighting. Hale sprinted toward the nerve hub, planting charges into its pulsing flesh. Detonation in 30 seconds, he called out. But the chamber shook. The Vyarshul Khan was firing the gravity lance. Right now, and if it fired, the Terran fleet would die before the explosives detonated. Hale yelled into comms. Reyes, tell me you have something. Static. Silence. Then, Hale, Reyes said, voice steady. Finish the job. Hale grit his teeth, slammed his palm on the detonator panel, arming the charges manually. Team, fall back. The Zereth commander screamed and lunged. Hale turned, and the world vanished in light. For a moment, Hale saw nothing. No pain, no sound, no battlefield. Just white fire swallowing everything. Then, slowly, shapes returned. A haze, the ruins of a chamber, a ringing in his skull like broken bells. He coughed. Air scraped his lungs like sandpaper. He was alive. Barely. The nerve hub chamber no longer pulsed with alien light. The massive organ lay split open, collapsing inward, its veins shriveling like burned roots. The detonation had crippled the biological superstructure. Hale! Ira's voice croaked through the static of his comms. Hale, answer. He groaned. Still here, Doc. Thank the stars. Her relief was genuine. We're pinned 2 corridors back. Rourke's leg is crushed. Juno's fine but angry. Figures, Hale muttered. He staggered to his feet, gripping a half-melted railing to stay upright. The chamber trembled again, not from weapons fire, but from the ship itself. Because the Vyarshul Khan was dying, the lance misfires. On the TSS Varian, Admiral Reyes watched the unfolding disaster. The gravity lance is destabilizing. Chong shouted, eyes wide. Internal feedback is spiking. Suddenly, a bloom of warp light burst from the flagship's forward arrays. The gravity beam, half-charged and uncontrolled, bent inward instead of outward. It's collapsing on itself, Chong whispered. Kovar's 4 eyes widened, horrified and awed at the same time. Your soldiers, they broke the synchronization. The lance is eating the superstructure. Reyes exhaled slowly. Then let it eat. The flagship shuddered, its hull rippling like wounded flesh. Entire sections folded inward as the gravity lance tore chunks of the ship into collapsing pockets of distortion. Humanity had done it. The impossible. Again. The last fight. Hale limped through dissolving corridors of biosteel. The ship groaned like a dying animal. Veins snapped against the walls. Fluids rained like acidic mist. He reached Ira Rourke and Juno behind a fallen mass of organic plating. Hale, Juno said, that explosion knocked half the ship off balance. We need to evacuate now. Is Rourke stable? Stable enough to complain, Rourke growled. But my leg's a souvenir now. Hale crouched. We're getting out together. Ira nodded. Extraction route is... She froze. Her visor flashed red. Contacts. Lots of them. Xerith soldiers poured into the corridor behind them. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Even as their ship died, the Xerith fought like zealots who believed death was a promotion. Fall back. Hale shouted. Where? Juno snapped. Rourke pointed upward. The gravity is collapsing. There's air tunnels up top, leading toward the hangar sacks. Then up. Hale ordered. They scrambled onto a tendon-like ridge. Plasma fire filled the corridor. Ira dragged Rourke. Juno carved a path with twin blades crackling blue. Hale turned back, rifle blazing, cutting down wave after wave. But more came. And more. Hale! Ira screamed. We can't hold them. He knew, but humans don't surrender. Not in HFY stories. Not in reality. Juno! Hale shouted. You lead them to the extraction route. What about you? I'll buy time. Hale! Go! He leapt down, landing between his team and the Xerith. His rifle overheated. He drew his sidearm. When that ran dry, he grabbed a fallen alien spear rifle and kept firing. He was one man, standing against an empire. And for a moment, the empire flinched. The extraction. Juno, Ira, and Rourke reached a collapsing hangar sack, essentially a giant organic bubble. A Terran shuttle ripped through the dying membrane from outside. Admiral Reyes to strike team. The comm crackled. Get aboard. Now! Ira shoved Rourke into the shuttle. Juno climbed in last. Then she looked back. Hale! She shouted into comms. Where are you? Static. Silence. Then, I'm on my way, he said. He emerged from the corridor, sprinting as the ceiling fell and the floor liquefied around him. Tendrils lashed at his boots. The gravity lance's feedback tore spirals in the walls. Hale pushed harder. The shuttle's ramp was rising. Hurry! Juno yelled. He dove. Juno grabbed his arm. Ira grabbed Juno. Rourke reached out and hauled him in with a roar. The ramp sealed. Punch it. Hale gasped, collapsing. The shuttle tore away from the dying flagship as it folded into itself, collapsing like a star imploding in slow motion. And then, the VY vanished in a silent burst of warped light. The aftermath. Hours later, the Terran flagship's medbay hummed with controlled chaos. Hale sat on a cot, wrapped in biofoam and irritation. Reyes stepped inside. You did good, Sergeant. Hale smirked. We stayed alive. Barely. That's humanity for you, she said. We don't win because we're strong. We win because we refuse not to. Did we end the war? Reyes nodded slowly. The Xerith lost their godship. Their entire doctrine was built around its invincibility. Without it, their empire fractures. Kovar entered, bowing respectfully. Your species has forced the galaxy to reconsider what humans are capable of. Hale shrugged. We're nothing special. Reyes added. Just stubborn, reckless, irrational. And impossible to kill. Juno finished from the doorway. Rourke grinned from his hover chair. HFY, baby. Ira rolled her eyes but smiled warmly. The legend. Across the galaxy. Transmission spread. Humanity destroyed the VY Humans boarded a god beast and broke its heart. Humans survived the gravity lance. Humans did the impossible again. Alien worlds whisper a new phrase with awe and fear. Beware the Terrans. They are the species that refuses to die. Hale leaned back, exhausted but proud. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. Now, it never would again.